Let's talk about the challenges or potential challenges involved with building your own swimming pool. There's a couple. I mean, you lack technical experience as far as building a pool goes. It's like, I'm going to be a carpenter, but I don't do any woodworking. Well, I mean, you're going to have some technical challenges to overcome because there's a lot of information that you are supposed to learn along the way that you're kind of bypassing entirely. Like, building a house and you have no experience building anything. So that's kind of the first challenge that you're going to overcome, is that even if you have technical proficiency, you lack experience building swimming pools. And that's kind of the first thing that you're going to have to overcome. You're going to have to learn a lot on the fly. There's not really a clear resource available that's just like, oh, this is how you do it like this step by step, and that covers every situation. Unfortunately, swimming pools don't work like that. There's so many different kinds and different geographic areas and different types of soils and so many options that you could build into a pool, and different ways that you could build it in there. And ask 10 different pool construction companies how to do a certain thing, and you're probably going to get 10 pretty different answers. And that's just kind of the reality of the situation. There's not really a lot of technical congruency or a standard that every swimming pool gets built to. It's more like in-house systems that have been tooled and refined over one or two generations, and that's kind of how swimming pools are built these days. So yeah, you can definitely build your own swimming pool, but you don't have the benefit of experience to have learned along the way. Oh, never do this, don't do that. Like, you could make one small technical error and it could really come back to haunt you. It's not to say that every mistake is a total nightmare or a total pool failure. Like, there's some mistakes you could make that would be a total pool failure. Like anything from making concrete too thin, or connecting plumbing wrong, or doing something that might be potentially unsafe with plumbing or electricity. Like, this is a pretty complex thing that you're building after all. So that's the first challenge easily, is that you just have to figure out how to install one, and there's not really a clear playbook to work from. And the penalty is pretty steep if you do it wrong. Aside from the huge monetary investment and the workload, it's the fact that what if you built something that's unsafe? To what standard are you building this, and how do you know if it's safe? These are all things that professionals within the industry would know, or are supposed to know anyway. And now you take on the onus of responsibility in this regard when you're building this pool. So you have to really take this seriously. This isn't something that you should take lightly. This is a pretty big renovation, or pretty big addition, more so, that you're adding to your home, and it is permanently attached to your home as well. Like, that's worth mentioning, that your home is very valuable, something that you don't want to attach a total disaster to. So you have to consider that when you undertake building a swimming pool for yourself. Let's talk about some of the other challenges. Warranty. One of the challenges you're going to encounter when you go to build your own swimming pool is you're going to discover that the swimming pool industry isn't necessarily set up to help the do-it-yourselfer or self-installer. Largely, swimming pool equipment it's available to the homeowner or retail level to a certain degree. Usually you would experience limited or even potentially no warranty offerings for things like pool heaters, pool pumps, because you're not an authorized installer of said equipment, and as a result you're limited to a very small warranty window, if anything. And I mean, this stuff's pretty complicated. You could get a lemon out of the box in terms of a piece of equipment, and then you'd be stuck with a real problem, and that would suck terribly. That's a risk you're taking on when you do it yourself. And part of that, not necessarily a risk, but a consideration, is just that you will have limited stock available to you. Like, you might find a product that's like, oh, that's exactly what I want for my pool. You go to buy it, and then you realize, well, the company that sells it doesn't actually sell to homeowners or pool builders unless you're an actual pool builder. Like, you can't just roll up to, let's say, Jandy. Jandy really likes to promote selling to their authorized, trained distributors and builders. And so if you want to, select that for your product line, you're probably going to have trouble finding those products, because it's not even a matter of warranty offering or price. They just won't sell it to you, period. That's just the way it's going to be. So these are challenges that you're going to have to overcome when you're talking about building a swimming pool. if you don't do this professionally. You're going to have limited stock available to you, and the stuff that is available to you might come with little or no warranty, and it's a concern because a lot of this stuff's expensive nowadays. If you're talking about pump, filter, heater, automation system, like this stuff is a lot of money, many tens of thousands of dollars, and that's a lot to risk without the proper warranty coverage that in theory you should be entitled to if you were to purchase through like a authorized brick and mortar retailer of swimming pools and swimming pool equipment. Let's talk about the relationship between subcontractors and quality, because this is a big concern when you're building your own swimming pool. Are you actually building the pool, like physically with your hands? Are you a builder of other things and you're just going to now build this swimming pool? Because I kind of like that. Like, I have no problem with that. If you're just a person who said, well, I'm not paying those prices, that's ridiculous. I'll just hang out in my lawn chair and oversee this army of workers that I hire and have them construct me a pool. Like, I'm far more concerned about that plan because I'm not sure that's a plan for success unless you have experience managing swimming pool builders, for example. In the subcontractor relationship, there's always kind of the problem that the people that you bring in, this isn't their pool, this isn't their backyard. Maybe they don't care all that much. Maybe they don't do good work. The person running the job is supposed to go over and, see some shoddy steel work or some shoddy concrete work and say like, hey, Tony, I noticed that steel looks pretty bad there, and if you don't fix it, I'm going to bury you under the pool. And then Tony knows he better go and fix that steel and probably don't let that happen again if he wants to keep getting jobs from you. You don't have that kind of pull. You don't have the eye for the technical detail associated with plumbing, steel, concrete, so many things involved with building a swimming pool. So that relationship between the subcontractor and the quality of the product that you're having built is a concern for me when you build your own pool. The more that you build yourself, the better I like. The more that you're planning on hiring subcontractors, the less I like the plan. And it's important to note that if you're going to build yourself, every step of the way, choose a plan for success, because there's so many things that you could say, oh, I'm going to do this myself. It's like, are you sure? Like, you're going to shotcrete your own pool, for example. You've held on to a concrete cannon before and you're comfortable with that process, because unless you've done this exact process before and you got 3 buddies who love doing this exact process as well, you're not going to shotcrete your own pool. So now you're looking at subcontractors again. Or you have to change your plan to something else that maybe doesn't use shotcrete. Maybe it's a cast-in-place pool, or maybe you look at vinyl or fiberglass. There's other options to consider here. And the more you remove the subcontractor from the equation, the more likely I think you can build yourself something of quality, just given the amount that you care about it yourself. You care about it more than a subcontractor is ever going to care about your swimming pool. So you're going to try your best to make this a high quality product. And that counts for something, even though you do lack in technical experience building swimming pools. So I guess maybe the final point, the final challenge that I'll say is that there's kind of just a lack of resources available in general. Like, I struggle to name another subject where I can't just go to the local library and pick up a book on exactly how to do what I'm talking about doing. And to a certain degree, I guess such a thing exists for swimming pools, but again, not really, because of the strange nature of swimming pools, how they're very technically complicated and there's multiple overlapping trades and geographic considerations that come in. It's a very, very nuanced technical thing, so much so that it's not even able to be properly trade regulated. Like, you can't be a trade mechanic or a trade carpenter or a trade electrician. You can't be a trade swimming pool builder or swimming pool installer or swimming pool maintenance person, really, because these things kind of lack a definition, and there's not really a way to just put it all in a box and call it there. You got to learn this stuff, because it would take too long. You can't learn what you need to know in 4 to 5 years, which is all you need to be a mechanic or a carpenter or an electrician. And so as a result, when everything else became like a trade certification, swimming pools did not. And to this day, they exist largely unregulated, depending on where you live. So you have to protect your interests a little more than normal, in regards to swimming pools, because it's hard for you to find out or verify information. Like, what if you get to a critical point of your build and you can't find an answer to a question? What do you do? Should I use this kind of backfill or should I use this kind of backfill? And if you use the wrong one, well, you could have a real problem on your hands here. Where do you get that information? If you're not a builder already, or if you don't have connections to somebody who can answer something like that with a certain degree of confidence, you could compromise the quality of your project just given your lack of available technical information to build this thing that you're trying to build. So I don't know, if you've made it this far in this video, you're probably having a pretty strong appreciation for how technical and how complex swimming pools and swimming pool installations can be, especially nowadays. They're so complex nowadays, it's ridiculous. And yeah, if you're going to take that on yourself, like, that's a heavy burden. There's a big reward. You could save a lot of money doing it, but there's a lot to consider here, and I hope these points help you. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can check out my website, swimmingpoolsteve.com.